Welcome to Boss Stuff Academy, where you get your real estate and business updates. We are on Facebook, Instagram, as well as YouTube. Subscribe and like our page. And tonight we have attorney Kenneth Snow. Mr. Snow, if you would introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for having me. My name is Kenneth Snow, and I'm the CEO, managing partner of the Snow Legal Group. And I've been doing this in this practice for almost 2 decades now, over 2 decades. And we practice mainly uh, criminal defense, but we have niched down over the last several years, and we mainly do murder, homicides, and defense, as well as catastrophic injuries. We have an office. My flagship office is in Charlotte, but I have an office in Georgetown, South Carolina, where I grew up, as well as a satellite office in Rock Hill. I practice law in 3 states, however. That is North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia.
Oh, okay. So you are in multiple states. We are going to let Facebook build our audience, and we'll be right back. So we're gonna jump right into it. So, Mr. Snow, you were telling us that you were in multiple states, and how long have you been practicing law?
I started practicing law in 2000. I went to law school. I was a little bit older. I went to law school when I was 32. So I'm a seasoned gentleman at this point. But I went back to law school when I was 32, and at that time I thought 32 was old. But so now I've been practicing law over 20 years.
Okay, so you starting to tell your age now, even though you don't look it.
I'm I'm a proud 57-year-old.
And a lot of people don't these days don't get to live to be 57. So
Uh,
that's a blessing within itself.
It is quite a blessing. So certainly, I'm happy to be here. You're gonna get old one way or the other, on this side of the earth or the other side. So I prefer to be on this side.
So I wanted for you to elaborate. You said that you went to law school when you were 32 years old. There's a
Mhm.
lot of people that want to transition out of where they are and metaphor and transition into a new career, but they kind of stuck or they feel stuck. So can you tell us, how did you get from where you were? So what were you doing before law school at 32?
Well, before law school, I worked in admissions. I was involved with recruiting students for colleges and universities. I worked at 3 different colleges um, in the Carolinas before I went to law school, between undergrad and then law school. But actually, my first job right after undergrad, I worked in sales at a place called Color Tile. Color Tile no longer really exists, but after that, I worked in admissions for 3 different universities, and that's
Okay. So that's a big difference from working at a college to now becoming a attorney that specializes in murder cases.
quite a big difference. Quite a big difference, and I think I went back. If I went to be honest, when I was young, growing up, I know that I wanted to be a lawyer, and I did not pursue my dreams right after undergrad. I thought undergrad was challenging enough, but then I came full circle at 32. Actually, as I traveled around the country telling young people about pursuing their dreams, I realized that I was being a hypocrite. I wasn't pursuing my dreams, and then I started to think about things that I'd heard or that I'd read, and one of the things that came to mind. Um, uh, I thought about this study they had done at one of the schools, Ivy League schools, and it discussed the study involved people that were on the deathbeds, and these people were asked the question about what they hadn't done or what they wanted to do in life, and the vast majority of them had regrets about things they hadn't done or hadn't tried to do, and I didn't want to be one of those people, and so I started this law journey at really at 29 and ended up starting law school at 32.
Okay, because it's about trusting your process, right? And a lot of people don't understand that it's not how you start, but how you end, and that you have to have these experiences or exposure to certain things that help you transition into your real purpose.
Well, absolutely, and certainly I can't. I am certainly overjoyed to do something that I wanted to do, make a living at it, because I knew that I know now that this is clearly what I was meant to do, and so I'm fortunate enough to have lived to live my dream every day, and the people that are out there that are sitting back and are not living their dreams, I wish I would certainly encourage you to pursue your dreams. Forget what the naysayers are saying about, oh, you shouldn't do that. You have a stable job or what have you, because you will have people who will doubt you and will tell you that you cannot succeed. But one of the greatest feeling of my life at that time was when I was when I finished law school, passed the bar, and I was able to call my mother up and tell her that I had passed the bar. Probably the happiest day of my life at that time.
Okay, so how do you get the courage to take the leap? Because a lot of people are financially tied to their current occupation. So, what do you suggest that somebody does when they have a financial obligation to a family and bills and just life in general?
Well, I certainly will tell you that's going to be a challenge, but I will tell you it's a process. As I said, I started my real journey about when I was 29, knowing that I wanted to go to law school, but it wasn't law school isn't just something you can jump into. There's some requirements. You have to take the LSAT, the test that will that you take before you go to law school, and it helps to assess. And law schools are assess you by the LSAT, and then you have to take then you have to apply to law school. So it's a process, and I knew that I had to get myself financially ready for law school. So as I said, I started at 29 and then ended up getting accepted and started law school at 32. So if it's something you truly want to do, you have to know that um, it will be something that will take some time.
Now, when you passed the bar, did you immediately go into your own firm or did you work for another attorney or with a company?
Well, I did. I worked for a small firm for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years before I went out on my own. Actually, I started um, my law practice with another lawyer at the time, and then we worked together for about 7 years, and then we had a divorce.
So, did you always know that you also not only want to be an attorney, but you wanted to be in your own firm?
Well, initially, I did not think that I would be an entrepreneur by my going out on my own, and it was I was kind of put in a situation where I had to, and then I started to really love the feeling of being an entrepreneur. I guess I also went back to my father. He was an entrepreneur as well. Did not make the connection until later on in life, but was certainly glad that I did so. And one of the things I clearly enjoy about being an entrepreneur is the autonomy. There's certainly some pluses of being an entrepreneur. Obviously, there's some things that come along with that, but I enjoy the autonomy.
Okay. Now, explain to people what's the difference between being a lawyer, working in a firm, than being an attorney that's an entrepreneur?
Well, um, being an entrepreneur means, and I wasn't always um, an entrepreneur. I would say I was a lawyer uh, who worked in my firm, meaning that the service that I was provided, I was that person. I provided most of the services, the key services in the firm. I provided most of the legal services. Whereas nowadays, I am on the business side of it, and I have other people that provide the legal services. And certainly, there's sometimes that I provide legal services, but that's not my primary role any longer. That's not my primary role. I have moved on, and now I run the business. Now I am the CEO of the business versus the lawyer. So I am working on my business as opposed to really in my business.
Okay. And that is something key to any entrepreneur, because a lot of people might say, well, I'm not trying to be an attorney. I'm not an attorney. But this is to go back to say that attorneys face the same challenges as anyone else in any other business. So,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
will you talk about, the part of that challenge that school did not prepare you? What parts did school not prepare you to come into entrepreneurship, or did they just show you how to be an attorney, how to practice law?
I attended law school at North Carolina Central School of Law in Durham and had a great education from Central. They taught me how to be a lawyer and taught me how to be a trial lawyer. And so I hit the ground running in terms of being a lawyer. But like most schools, like most law schools, they didn't teach me how to be a business person. So there's a lot of things that I have to learn from other people, and either from also from other business owners. But I had to learn a lot from the business. I made a lot of mistakes, and certainly even today I still make mistakes. And you will make mistakes as an entrepreneur, but you have to know how to be humble, and learn from other people. I can tell you that some of the things I learned from people who have hair salons, who have one of my fraternity brothers who's a dentist. I've learned some things about business from him. So you can learn. So a lot of things that you implement in your business is universal.
And I'm glad you pointed that out, because a lot of people think, oh, if I'm in hair, I need to follow all the people that's doing hair in order to be successful, when there are certain principles of business that can transition to any area.
Oh, absolutely. So I implore people to sit down, have coffee, meet other people, and I will assure you that you will learn things that you can implement in your own business from their business, regardless of what you might do. It is a good thing to listen to other entrepreneurs, and quite frankly, when I speak to entrepreneurs, it inspires me. I get energy from speaking to people like Erica and other people who are in business and doing their thing.
Okay. So, with that being said, what would you tell your first year in business self?
Myself, well, if I had to go back, um, I would tell myself at that time to uh, go on start studying early on about businesses. When I got into business, I didn't really study business. Now I'm a student of business. So I will tell anyone, there's so many nowadays, so many books out there, so many podcasts out there that you can listen to. So many other people who are open to working with you, talking to you about business. That's what I would certainly do. Understand the structure of business, understand how your numbers work. That is absolutely important.
Would you say, because a lot of people, they they either want to go at this alone, or they want to bring their tribe, their circle with them. And I know you said you started out in a partnership,
Mhm.
but would you say your reasoning in the beginning for starting out with a partnership and then not taking on a new partnership, what would you say that you found works better for you?
Well, um, partnerships are good and can be very good. Partnerships are also hard. Partnerships are similar to marriage. It's a hard thing because you have two people who have different ideas, sometimes different backgrounds, and so that was very challenging for me. But what I will add that I do have a partnership that's not part of my main office, but I am in partnership with another lawyer in a separate entity that provide legal services, another law office. Um, However, my entity is solely me as the owner, and I own 100% of that, my Charlotte office. It is, but having someone else with as a partner can also be helpful in terms of financing. They're taking a risk with you, so it's not you doing it alone. Also, you can get ideas from that other person, and because they have differences, those ideas can be very valuable in helping you to grow your business. So, a different perspective, it's very helpful.
And Minority Business Leaders Network is on here, and they're saying that it totally depends on the partner.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, I would encourage people who are going into a partnership with people is, you've heard me use the word marriage tonight. I will tell you, then you should also date that partner. And although, certainly the partner that I had previously when I first started my law business, although we're no longer partners, we did last for 7, 8 years, and so I would consider that somewhat of a success. Um, she wanted to do other things, and I wanted to stay in the legal practice. But date that person or that person, those persons that you're looking to go into business with. Sit down, have coffee with them, have powwow sessions, get to know them to see if you all have enough in common to go into business, have similar goals. You won't agree on everything, no matter what, but hopefully you all will have the same goals.
So, what advice would you give to somebody if they're teetering between or on the fence about doing a partnership with someone else, or just saying, I need to just do this and strike out alone?
Well, that's a tough one. I think that depends on many variables. I can tell you that you just have to, you have to really sit down and know yourself and know your strengths and know your weaknesses. But if you think that someone else may be a good business partner, as I've said previously, really date that person and make sure they're the right fit. But if they're not the right fit, I think you will know that. If they're not the right fit, then you have to go do it alone.
So, what kind of things would you suggest people look for in that dating stage?
Well, are they are do they have the same interests that you have? For instance, are they looking to scale their business, or are they looking to just have a situation where they're the service providers and only the service providers, and they're not looking to scale? That's your interest, then that will be an issue. Um, do they like the marketing aspect of business, the sales aspect? The one thing that you have to know about business, almost all businesses involve sales. Sales, some people think, especially lawyers, think sales is a dirty word. But if you're looking to grow your business and get clients, it's sales. So I think that as you continue to determine what you want, you have to look for that in that same person. Again, they'll have differences, but make sure their goals are the same as yours ultimately.
And Minority Business Leaders, they chiming in again. They saying that they complement each other. So, would you suggest that somewhere where you may be weak, that picking a partner that is strong in that area to balance the situation out would be.
Oh, clearly, I will tell you that when one of the things that my partner, my first uh, my partner, she knew a little bit more about business than I did. She had a business background, but I learned so much. I learned so much more about business that I surpassed her, and I kind of outgrew that relationship. So, absolutely, have someone that has strengths in the areas that you may be weak. It is very important to complement each other. So that's a good point. Very good.
Okay. So as you transition to who you are and what your practice is today, and being in multiple states, a lot of people, they don't want to go bigger because they're scared. How were you able to say, did you know people in the other states where you're licensed and practicing, or did you jump out there and do it? How did you get those connections to
Mhm.
say, I'm going to swim rather than sink in these different markets?
Well, I first got licensed in North Carolina because I lived in Charlotte, and I had gone to school at North Carolina Central School of Law, and I took my I took that bar, passed that bar first, but I got licensed in South Carolina second because I grew up in South Carolina, and so my family wanted free legal services, and so you can't practice law in a state if you're not licensed. And so I got my second license there, and as I continued, and that's in about several few years ago, when it really hit me that I really wanted to scale my practice, I got licensed in Georgia as well. So, and I do know people in the Georgia area, and it's a close state to us. And I wasn't, so I knew that I could get in that market as well, gradually, surely, but gradually I could get in that market. But it wasn't very it wasn't frightening for me, even though the laws are different. I have to learn the different rules, local rules of that state, and even the area that I practice in a different state. You have to know the rules. So, but it was more exciting for me, and certainly, like I did when I was a young lawyer here, I'm also um, smart enough to also seek advice from other lawyers in the Georgia area, in the state of Georgia.
And then they chiming in now and making a very valid point that networking and referrals build credibility.
Oh, absolutely. Networking is absolutely important to have good people that refer you cases and that you can refer cases to, that you can help them. That is a absolute plus. But you have to be good at your craft and try and work on your craft, because when people refer clients to you, you want to make sure that you give them your best and you present well, because if you don't, then that makes that referral partner look bad. So no one's perfect, but certainly when you get a client, you thank your referral source for that referral, but you do a good job, and that's the way you pay them back, is do a good job for that client, for that customer.
Right. And then as you said that, people don't think about lawyers having to be sales basically and their customers before they're quote unquote a client.
Well, absolutely. Sales, and we can have a whole show on sales or on branding and marketing your firm, but absolutely, you have to be able to sell your service, and part of that is, of course, your branding, your marketing, who you are. Oftentimes, especially in a small practice or small business, your business is you, and people look at you and they don't separate the two. So I remember many years ago there was a young lawyer that worked with me, and I had to express to her. She had some things on her um, um, Facebook page, and I mentioned to her um, that perhaps she would reconsider what she would post, um, And although that's separate from the business, it's not really separate because people see you as that individual, and people will judge you by what you put out in the public. So no one's perfect, and certainly lawyers aren't perfect, and no one's perfect. But oftentimes people will ask themselves, do I want to do business with this person? He's out there doing this and he's posting that. Do I want him to be my lawyer? That's a big decision.
Right. So, as you continue to grow your firm as an entrepreneur rather than
Mhm.
a practicing attorney, what are you doing now to scale your business?
Mm. Well, the thing that you will learn when you're scaling your business is the people around you. I know when I first started expressing to my team that I was reducing my caseload, they thought I was joking, and they simply didn't understand that I was going to be working more on the business versus in the business. But the first thing you have to do is tell yourself that. Um, Tell yourself that you're going to be working on the business, and that means you're going to have to surround yourself with people that can support the business. Part of that growth, you have to have SPO, standard operating procedures. You need to make sure that you standardize as many things as possible, regardless of what business you're in. Because what you want to do is you want to be able to have people run the business if you're not there to answer those questions for them. What do I mean by that? If you're on vacation somewhere, you don't want them calling you asking you just the basic questions. And one of the things that as you continue to grow and scale your business, it should allow you to have more free times to do more things that you want to do with your friends, your family. And so that is why it's important if you really want to scale your business to set standard operation procedures in place. So that would allow more your team to have more autonomy without having to call you for every simple question they have.
And we talked about this question transitioning from career to career, right? But then once you get in your business, we see a lot of entrepreneurs that stay, I call them self employed rather than being business owners, because once they get the business going, they're wearing so many hats and you getting caught up in this treadmill of life, running as fast as you can, but actually going nowhere. And how do you say, I'm going to cut back my caseload, even though you communicated your goal to your team? But how do you actually execute on reducing one role in your business to play another?
Well, it's probably easier said than done, but I can tell you, you got to learn to resist that temptation and say it to people around you. Um, People um, won't act accordingly until you put your foot down and say, "This is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to be the person to always do all of these services." You have to say, "Absolutely, this is what my role is now. I am the CEO. I am not the sole service provider of this firm or this business, and I'm working on the business." So, I think you should do is, you know, if you don't sit down with a business coach, at least try to get as many resources as you can to learn how to scale your particular business. But it's important to learn so much more about the business, running a business. That will help you quite a bit, because once you do that and you feel that love and you feel one of the things that I'll tell you that really inspired me. I remember I was traveling and I was playing golf, and I remember um, I was playing golf that day, and I'm hundreds of miles away from my office. But on that golf course, I was able to got a call from my office, and I was able to make a lot of money just in that time I was on the golf course without actually being in the office. and I didn't have to do the work. So that was an inspiration to me, even more so to scale my business. So um, yes, money clearly is not everything, but most of us that have businesses, we do want to benefit from that, and so that's important to realize that you can make money not just being in the office or working on in your business.
Okay, and then we got a comment here.
Right.
Increase your value by taking less cases. So
Absolutely.
a lot of people I think get caught up with, I'm so glad I'm getting business that I've got to service everybody that contacts me, right? And then that's how I think a lot of businesses get into the trap of low end, low return task, even though you may say I'm volume, right?
Mhm.
But we want more value for what we're doing and for our efforts. So a lot of people get caught up in these minuscule tasks. So how do you not get caught up in the minuscule tasks that still need to be done, but at the same time you've taken less cases and increasing your value?
Well, you have to monetize things, and people try to hold on and not spend money by hiring people. But oftentimes, as the CEO or the business owner, by getting someone, hiring other people to do things that uh, that can be done by other people, you can concentrate on the bigger things. For instance, if you're still answering your phone and you're the business owner and you can hire a receptionist for $15-20 an hour, clearly as a business owner, your time is more valuable than that. Or someone who's a file clerk in your office, same premise. Hire people to assist you, try to monetize things that will free up your time so you can work on other things. I will tell you, as to taking less cases, um, what some people are afraid to kind of niche down in the practice of law. As I said earlier, I practice criminal defense as well as personal injury. And I'll tell you, when I first started my practice, I did all kinds of criminal defense, and I was all over the place. But now a substantial um, portion of my cases are homicides or murder cases, and I have decided to niche down. I found an area that I am very good at. I know it may seem very interesting to people, but I happen to be very good at handling murder cases. We've had some very good victories over the last several years, and I realize that that is the area that I am very good at. And in addition, when I look at the income that I make from those cases, I have decided that that is an area that I want to focus on. Now, you'll also have to know, just to piggyback on that a little bit, know your ideal client. You cannot serve everyone as a business owner. Every client, every potential customer is not your customer. You have to determine who's the ideal client for you. I make that decision. I represent people that come call my office. People that call my office, their main objective, only objective, is getting the best results. So money is the price is generally not the concern for them. It is getting the best results. So that is one thing I made a decision. For instance, I really don't publicize payment plans on my social media or my websites, because that is not the client that I serve. But those clients will be served by other people, and you have to have faith in what you want to do, and that's what I made the decision that I wasn't going to do.
Okay, we got another comment. Standards of the law firm. A bad hire can cost you. Remember, you said hire somebody, right? So, how do you determine if the person is a fit for you or a bad hire that's going to cost you money?
Well, you know what? I wish we could answer that question very easily because I can tell you, I sit down and talk with business owners all the time, and that is a challenge. It is an absolute challenge. But I will say this, um, as you've heard before, hire slowly but fire quickly, fire fast. I tell people to. It is hard to assess people by looking at just by in an interview. Everyone interviews well. I will tell you there are a number of things you can do to assess whether a person is a good hire. There are a number of tests out there now that you can use to assess people. They also also tell you, encourage you to check referrals. I mean references. That's going to be important. But I don't know you really know if that person is a good fit to your culture, firm's culture, until they start to practice. They may be a good fit somewhere else, but doesn't mean they'll be a good fit for your business. But don't be hesitant to let them go. And that's not an easy thing to do. But it is your business, it is your dream, and they're not a good fit in your culture, you have to let them go.
How long does it normally take you to figure out if a person is a good fit and a part of your culture?
Well, when I first started my practice, it took me years. Now it takes me 90 days or so, if that. If,
So, why do you think initially it took you years and now you're down to a shorter window of time?
well, I think maybe just for me, probably just trying to be a good person and try to mold people. But I realize as I've done this a lot longer that everyone's not a good fit, and no matter how you try to work with them, they may not be a good fit for your business. And really, you're not doing them any good oftentimes by holding on to them because you're keeping them from a opportunity that may be better fit for them. So by holding on to people in a situation that's not good for you or them, it's really not doing any you or that person a favor.
And I would totally agree. We've got 3 months on the screen, the 90 days, because people can only perform for so long before the mask falls off.
That is absolutely true. And understand that it's your business and you have a right to be selfish. You have a right to be selfish because you're taking the risk. Um, you don't, obviously, we don't go out to hire people and then fire them. But um, there's a saying the first law of nature is self preservation. You have to take care of yourself first. And I think when you're on your airplane, what do they tell you about the mask? If
Right.
something you have I don't know the exact phrase, but if there's a situation where the oxygen mask uh, falls down, you grab and you put your mask on first. So you got to save yourself first. Your business will come first. So sometimes you have to do that for the betterment of your business.
So, and I heard you talk about this a little bit earlier. How do you work with your family when they know that you're in business? Like you were talking about getting your license in South Carolina because you knew people down there, and sometimes they wanted you to, you know, do free cases for them. So,
Well,
how do you get out of that when people a lot of times they just hear that you have a business but they don't see what's going out and coming in, and a lot of people I see that their family or their inner circle is sometimes you know they're suffocating them.
well, when I first started my practice, I probably practicing law. I probably did more things for my family at the time, but now that I'm doing serious criminal stuff, more my family, fortunately, my immediate family anyway, they have no need for those services. But when I first started, of course, I would do a will here and there, or real estate transaction with other people that are my family members. But I don't do that anymore. If I don't practice in that area, I don't do it anymore. I still take on personal injury cases for my family, but that's not free either. I still charge them, so they get a family discount. But I have learned also that sometimes when you give family members free advice, they don't take it seriously. So I have a new policy starting this year that even if a family member calls me for advice, they will have to pay a small token, because what I've typically learned is when you give them free advice, they won't take the free advice. They'll call you back a month later and says, well, this is my problem. And then you ask them, well, did you follow my advice? And they'll say, no, they didn't do it.
So a lot of times, and people want to offer people free consultations, free this, free that, but do people really value free?
I think depending on what the context is, and certainly in my business, I do complimentary um, consultations or strategy sessions on the phone. However, I do charge for in-office consultations. Over the years, I am able to assess cases usually on the phone, or I'll do a Skype as well. Because I travel so much, it's hard to catch me in my office, and so I'll be glad to get on the phone with someone to discuss their case with them. I will gladly do a virtual call and at no cost. When I have to actually be in my office and meet them face to face, then there would be a fee for that. And I think I've been blessed to have people who are thankful, and they're glad that I've taken the time out to speak with them about their case. And most of the times I speak with people, especially on the criminal side, it is not the client. It's my best client, my ideal client, is a client that has a good family, that has the resources to retain a lawyer.
Well, that's true too. So, with that being said, and you being a more seasoned attorney with your age and experience, how has this whole technology thing affected you? I heard you say you use Skype and things for virtual meetings, but how else have you integrated technology to make your world easier?
Well, I certainly use as much technology as I can. I'm always looking to learn, and I have younger and smarter people around me to help me when I have an issue. But for instance, I try to communicate with people using automation many times. I use text messages. I have what we call a practice management software, and I'm able to communicate with clients through emails or through text messages, and that seems to be very helpful. And so I use technology in many cases, in many ways. That includes Skype. That includes virtual calls through Zoom, even through my phone system at the office. I'm able to use that. So technology is absolutely important. And when I send out contracts to clients, they can get a contract via email or on the phone. They can sign the contract. They can also tender payments via their phones very easily. In fact, when I started my practice many years ago, almost 20 years ago, most of my clients would come in the office, talk to me, and then pay. It is totally the opposite. I am hired by family members from hundreds of miles away, and that's usually over the phone calls, and maybe some emails, and maybe occasionally we'll get on a virtual a Zoom call. But things have certainly changed. We're in the Amazon, what I call the Amazon era now, where people can like to go on on their phones, and they'll send you they want to make it very quickly. If they're satisfied that you're the lawyer for them, or in any of the business, technology is going to be important.
So, what would you say to a business owner a seasoned business owner that's struggling with actually transitioning with the technology. And I've noticed that some younger people even struggle with transition of the technology. What did you or how did you embrace technology? What helped you get over that fear, if or was there any fear about using technology?
Well, I try to be ahead of the curve. I try to be ahead because technology is always changing. And if you want people to hire you, to be your client, be your customer, you have to be make it easy for them to communicate with you, and certainly easy for them to pay you. If not, um, people are not going to. Most people don't want to put a check in the mail nowadays and send you a check. Most people want to be able to go on an app and pay you that way. Most people communicate with you via your phone, their mobile phones. And if they can't do it, they're less likely to hire. They're more likely to call the next person. And hey, I'm not the only lawyer. You're not the only hairdresser out there. You're not the only pet sitter out there. You have to make it very easy for people to communicate with you and be able to hire you and to pay you.
Okay. So that was simple, easy. Where, as we get ready, we kind of into it, but where do you see the snow legal in the next 5 years?
Well, I continue to plan to expand to other states. I have a couple more states in mind that I'm working on expanding to. And as I expand, I hope that I will continue to hire good people around me, continue to work with other lawyers. One of the things that I am doing more now is I want to get I'm becoming getting more referrals from other lawyers. Since I do a real serious murder cases are very serious, and some lawyers simply don't want to take on that task, and so I'm expanding. Excuse me. I am expanding my operations to include more referrals from lawyers who want to co-counsel with me on serious cases like that. Some lawyers uh, don't have the capacity, may have a smaller firm, or just don't want to handle or need some more expertise to assist them. But yet, this is a family member or a client that they want to stay involved with the case, and so I I am looking for more lawyers to call me and who are interested in me working with their clients. And it's their client, but I will certainly serve them. And more importantly, that lawyer still has input on what happens in that case. And in addition, over the years, we have paid many lawyers not a referral fee necessarily, because we don't say a referral fee in North Carolina, but uh, a co-counsel fee for their assistance on their cases.
So, and we talk about this. We've had several guests on this year, and we talked about do not see people in your field as competition. Make them your clients. Make them your referral base.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, people there's so much business out there that I work with my colleagues all the time who do the same practice. One of my good friends, Twana Burris, a good friend of mine, we refer cases back and forth to each other, and we do very similar things, and we're not envious of each other. In fact, I'm motivated by seeing my good friend do well. So um, yeah, see other lawyers certainly as a referral source, as a friend, and someone who people that can help you as well as you can help them in their business. So uh, friendly competition is a good thing, not a bad thing.
And you're able to capture, like you said, back and forth. things that they don't want to work on or can't work on or whatever, and vice versa. And once you establish that relationship, that you don't have to spend those marketing dollars to pull in that
Absolutely.
aspect of the business.
The best lead to get is from a referral source, because you're spending less money in getting converting that case by getting that lead from a referral source. And there, since someone has already referred you, that person already comes to the table with a little more confidence in you than normally would from just doing a Google search. So that's absolutely a good thing. The thing that I tell lawyers also is be in a given profession. Any lawyer can call me today. I don't care who that lawyer is, and they don't have to, uh, uh, even if they don't want to refer the case to me, if they want to pick my brain about how do you handle a murder case, I'll be more than happy to have coffee with them, take a call with them, because I was in a position many years ago where I didn't, where many lawyers helped me. So I don't mind. I am in a. I'm a. I don't mind giving. I'll send you templates. I'll send you things that I've used, motions that I've used. So any lawyer out there that have a question, hey, feel free to give me a call, shoot me an email. Be more than happy to assist them.
And we support each other in our private law firms as well as our nonprofit mission. Younger lawyers need to associate with more seasoned attorneys. It is necessary.
Absolutely, it is absolutely necessary. I can tell you that when you want to get a case where you can help the client, and oftentimes, as young lawyers, and I was a young lawyer, sometimes you want to keep all the money to yourself, and I understand that. But at the end of the day, it benefits you and the client, particularly first of all, the client, by having to co-counsel with a seasoned attorney. And you can learn so much more. And maybe the next time you don't need that, you can do it yourself. But you spend that, see that as a learning opportunity to associate with a law firm. I mean, I still associate with law firms when I do catastrophic injury cases. If it's an area that I'm not so familiar with, I will be happy to associate with other lawyers to help me with the case. And yes, they get a portion of the fee, but at the same time, the client is better served for me doing that.
Yeah, and I want to encourage that across the board in various businesses, because I just see so much cutthroat within certain industries that people don't want to. I don't know if they don't understand that mentality, or they just don't have it or been introduced to it, but they kind of just want to, see everybody as their competition, at their enemy, and they don't want to, be friendly with their information.
The more you get, the more you will receive. Okay, simple as that. I have never had that attitude, and so I was blessed again when I came up as a younger lawyer, and even today, um, lawyers still assist me. But as a younger lawyer, I remember running around and just fresh out of law school, and I was blessed to have a good community of lawyers in the Charlotte area, in particular, that would help me when I had questions. And even when I would go to South Carolina, I can remember even the prosecutors would be kind enough to assist me, and I was a defense lawyer, um, and they were welcome. They were willing to assist me. So certainly, the more you give, the more you receive.
Have you found that the more successful people are willing to give more knowledge than less successful people? Have you encountered any of that?
I do believe that happens, yes, and I think the two are intertwined, because it goes back to what I was saying: is the more you give, the more you receive. And yes, people who are successful tend to be very giving, and because I think they know that it comes back to them. At least that's what I believe. It comes back to me. You give it without asking for it back. People will give it back to you, or you'll get a blessing from somewhere else. When someone calls your office and they say that someone referred you to them, and you don't remember who that client is because you served that client um, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, that's a sign that you're doing some good things and you're willing to give, and so it comes back to you.
Yes, and I just wish people would see more of that, and I think that a lot of industries could grow if more people were to be more given, especially with their competition or what they consider to be their competition, because I just feel like there's enough business out here for everybody.
More than enough business out there for everybody. So remember, every client is not the client for you, and and they're the client, maybe the client for someone else. So you can't serve everyone anyway.
Okay, as we wrap up tonight, what piece of advice would you give to someone in business?
Nowadays, if you're looking to scale your business, I will tell you to immerse yourself as a student. I will tell you to read, listen to podcasts, go to seminars. Yeah, there are many free seminars you can go to. Network, volunteer. Don't be afraid to give. The more you give, the more you will receive.
And so I'm going to wrap up with this quote from Jim Rohn that says, "A formal education will make you a living, a self education will make you a fortune." Have a good night.
Thank you.